Coming straight out of Canton, 24/7, 365. From the Hall of Fame city, this is Uncensored Football.
All right, welcome to another edition of Uncensored Football. Myself, Brad Russell, and of course, Zack Zander. And we're talking about, well, the biggest news in the NFL, in the sports world for that matter, and that is Pat Money Mahomes cashing in, securing the bag. And oh, what a bag it is. We're talking 10 years, $450 million, with an incentives could get him up to $503 million. Not too shabby. Going to be with the team for the next 12 years. As it is a 10-year extension, $140 million guaranteed. $140 million guaranteed. Amazing. Breaks down to about $45 million per year. He is set. All the ketchup and steak the guy wants. He is ready to go. Pat Money Mahomes, again, securing the bag. Zach, what were your initial thoughts when you heard that Pat was getting this monster deal breaker, huge extension?
Wow, I mean, $500 million with a B, $500 million. Pat, loan me some money. Come on. I know you're going to be in Canton one day. Just make a trip about 20 years early. Come meet us and, flash some $100 bills. Let's go out to the bar. Let's go have some fun. My first thought was, oh, my God, they just signed a baseball-type deal in the NFL. I never thought I would see another 10-year deal in the NFL. The last one was Michael Vick almost 16 years ago. But we got it. It's Pat Mahomes. He was the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP, won a Super Bowl in his third year. He's 24 years old. They have him set till he's 36. My initial thought was Kansas City did the right thing, and they secured this guy for a very long time.
And here's what's crazy, too. As long as, things go right, and it's not unheard of. I mean, Tom Brady's, 42 years old, and he's going to be taking snaps behind center this upcoming year, hopefully, that he could get another huge monster deal when this is done. It's obviously not going to be another 10-year deal, but you're talking about a 36-year-old signs a 4 or 5 year deal worth who knows how much by the time that rolls around. But a great deal. Now, is it a great deal for Kansas City? I mean, it's obviously great for Pat. It's generational wealth. It's what he talked about he wanted. He wants to make sure that his family for multiple generations will be secure and have plenty of income to live off of. And $450 million will do that for you. Nevertheless, what does this do for Kansas City long term, in your opinion, Zach? Is it gonna at some point, hamstring them, handcuff them, however you want to phrase it?
Well, if you dive deep down into the deal and really look into the language of it, we go 10 years deep. So there's going to be at times where, wow, how are they going to pay anybody? But think about the cap rising. Think about that deal in year 6, 7, 8, when the cap could skyrocket. There could be future quarterbacks we're going to talk about a little bit later that could possibly pass his deal by then. There's a possibility they could be getting a Pat Mahomes on a reduced deal in year 7, year 8, and he could still be playing at MVP level, which I expect him to play that into his mid-30s as long as this guy's healthy. We have seen him get banged up. He was banged up a little bit in Texas Tech with a shoulder injury. We've seen the kneecap pop out last year, and he somehow popped it back in, was ready to play like a week and a half later. This guy's insane. But at the end of the night, I think KC got the better end of the deal. Pat Mahomes, I believe, went out of his way to make sure that Kansas City was going to still be able to put a team around him he could have maxed himself out for 5 years. He would be 29 years old, and then he could have went ahead and did it again or threatened to go into the free agency with Kansas City. Would never do that in his prime. So I think Kansas City won this. And at the end of the day, they have the best player in the NFL locked up for 12 more years. They won it for sure.
Right. And when it comes down to it, in the NFL, you have to have your franchise quarterback. And he looks like the clear-cut guy that could be that for a long time because of that kind of a cannon he's got. And the kid's only getting better. I know he spoke after the Super Bowl that he was saying it wasn't until second half, till late in the season, till he started really being able to look pre-snap and break down the defense and have an understanding of what they were trying to do against him. once he gets, if he can continue to grow that and get smarter in that and be that cerebral type quarterback, once he gets into his fourth, fifth, sixth year, to be that Peyton Manning type guy that where you can walk up and diagnose exactly what they're trying to do to you and then have the physical ability to exploit it at any level of the field with that cannon of an arm. It's an absolute howitzer. It's ridiculous. So when you got a guy like that, you got to pay him, and that's what Kansas City did. They locked him up. They have their guy, their franchise, the guy that they can believe in. He go down as the greatest, the most celebrated Chiefs player of all time if he goes through the length of this contract. He's already beloved in Kansas City. He's already brought him a Super Bowl. He's already brought an MVP. He's the only player that's ever done that under the age of 25. It's a spectacular player, and he's got a spectacular deal and will be in Kansas City for the long haul. Now you were talking too, and I think this is really interesting too, is who's going to be that next guy right now. And I think there's something to be said. Most of these guys, even the top tier guys, I don't know if any of them are worth giving that type of money to because of Pat's arm, what he can do, some of the things we were just talking about. But I think you have to, and you can make an argument for Lamar Jackson, especially if he goes out again this year and puts together a season like he did last year. I mean, an MVP, just chucking touchdowns all over the place. But you still have to kind of worry about that style of play. It's just something you have to put into the account. But if he makes it through another year, Zach, and goes all 16 games and doesn't miss a game, or 17, or how many we're going to eventually end up playing here in the next few years, I don't know how you can't. I mean, you're going to have to think about giving him this type of deal too. I don't know if Baltimore's going to want to do that, but he's got to be somebody in that conversation that could somehow eclipse this. But I think he's the only guy right now in the NFL that I would even whisper in the breath of a deal like this.
Well, they're going on the same pattern. Lamar sat his first year like Mahomes did. Second year, won the MVP. So if Lamar goes out, wins a Super Bowl in his third year like Pat did, then most definitely you're going to see Lamar Jackson with a deal over $40 million. Now, is it going to be 10 years? I don't see anybody else getting a deal close to 10 years in length. It's just not going to happen. Now, Lamar has never been injured, not in college, not in the NFL. This guy knows how to get down. He ran for over 1,200 yards last year, but didn't. When did you ever see Lamar just get popped? I mean, just cracked by a linebacker or a defensive end? Not really. Maybe a little bit in the pocket when a D tackle just falls on top of him. But in the open field, Lamar knows how to get down. He knows how to get out of bounds. He knows how to slide like Russell Wilson. These athletic quarterbacks have to be very smart when they run. And even though there's designed runs for Lamar, he still is just he wiggles and he just doesn't get popped hard at. It reminds me of Barry Sanders. He was the smallest guy on the field sometimes, and he never got hit big, and he ran for all those yards and was never really injured. Now, I don't think it eclipses Pat Mahomes because Pat is just recognized as a really special quarterback when Lamar is just a really special athlete. What happens to athletes? They lose a little bit as they go. So in 10 years, is Lamar still going to be very athletic for a regular quarterback? Absolutely. I think he's going to lose a step where Mahomes in 10 years, that seems like the kind of the groove for quarterbacks between 32 and 36, 37, the way they keep these guys healthy. I think Mahomes, I think you know what he's going to be in 10 years. You don't know what Lamar is going to be unless the thing with Lamar is this: he's going to lose a step when he's 30. It's just, it happens to every athlete when Mahomes is going to still have the big arm.
Yeah, it's very true. I think Lamar's arm is live enough. I think of why you see those guys that are there from 30, 32, maybe to 36, they really start to excel. I think it's a maturity level. It's an understanding of defense. It's an understanding of what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. So a lot of guys that come in that have a lot of talent, they're still overwhelmed by what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. Because it's not just going to practice, knowing the playbook, getting out there. It's the constant media obligations. It's the hopes and the prayers of a fan base on your back as a franchise quarterback. We've seen it crush a prospect here in Northeast Ohio for the Browns. Plus, I mean, you got to deal with ownership, and each quarterback's in a different system in a different place because of different ownership and different coaching. And
they're both in the perfect spot. They're both in the perfect spot, though. Yeah. Lamar's in the perfect spot in Baltimore. Kansas City is in the
But things can
perfect
always
spot.
change, though. Let's say Greg Roman gets a job, or let's say Harbaugh eventually moves on, or something. When
That
something like
was
that
my
changes,
biggest question with the 10-year deal with Pat Mahomes was Andy Reid. I don't think is coaching 10 more years.
no.
What happens when Andy Reid moves on? Are they going to have a system and plan ready to keep the same type of offense, which I assume they will, but you don't know. You can't see into the future 12 years. Andy Reid is not coach. I'm not sure exactly how old Andy Reid is. To have him coach another 12 years is being optimistic. I see maybe in 4 or 5 years, there's going to be a Pat Mahomes in Kansas City without Andy Reid. So that's a huge question mark right there.
Right. Yeah, but and two, they talk about his football acumen and again getting better, and he's still such a young guy. You hope that maybe 5, 6 years down the road, if Andy does hang it up, at that point, Pat is so ingrained in what he knows how to do, what he knows how to do well, that he could work hand in hand with an offensive coordinator to build the type of offense that is right for him and the players around him. Things that you saw with, Peyton Manning when he got later on in his career. That's what I know. I'm sure that Brady has a huge amount of input on what goes on in his offense. I'm sure he'll be doing that down with Bruce Arians in Tampa Bay now. Nevertheless, maybe that's the kind of thing that they're thinking about with a guy putting him in that situation to be there for that long. And so Deshaun Watson's got to be in this conversation too. He came out in the same draft class. He went higher. He was highly rated. He has had some injuries, and things aren't exactly – I don't know what things are like right now in Houston. After you trade, the number one wide receiver in a lot of people's eyes, that's got to frustrate you if you're the franchise quarterback. Wonder what that relationship's like, and if they're going to look at him as somebody to throw money like that at. I don't, just because of the injury history. I like what Deshaun Watson does, but I don't know. That's an odd situation down there in Houston. That's all I can say.
It's basically, how is Bill O'Brien going to fuck this up now? 2020. We seen how he fucked it up last year. Now, how's he going to fuck this up? He's playing GM and coach, which I don't think anybody not named Bill Belichick should do in the NFL in 2020.
Right. And he's still got a guy. Got Alex Caceres and some other people that help him out.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Now, if I'm the Houston Texans, I try to plant my flag into Deshaun Watson right now. Maybe not a 10-year deal, but I'll give that man 5, 6, 7 years. I would give him what Dak wants, because I believe he is that next tier. It's Pat Mahomes, and then it's the next tier, and Deshaun Watson is part of that tier. He's going into his 4th year. You took away a star wide receiver. You want this guy happy. You want this guy happy. He can do a lot of things. He can do a ton of things, and you don't want this trickling down into next season or a franchise tag situation. That's not what you want to do with your star quarterback. We were talking pre-show about how your quarterback – everybody's starting quarterback is almost like LeBron. Like you do everything to keep LeBron. And if you don't have a LeBron type player, you do everything to try to get one. If you have one, you make him happy. You pay him. You send shrimp to his hotel room if he likes shrimp. You send whatever. You do whatever you want, whatever you can, and whatever Deshaun wants to get this guy signed, because there's a reason I think they sent Hopkins out and didn't pay him. He wanted a new contract. That's why they sent him out. And I understand maybe not paying him exactly what he wanted, but you don't trade him for a 2nd-round pick, Bill O'Brien. That's fucking terrible. We all agree on that one. But I think they were trying to save some money for a big Deshaun deal. It's just, when is that going to get done? The longer they wait, the more they're going to have to pay.
Now, this also sets up an interesting situation down in Big D. Dak Prescott never got the long-term extension. Now he's got all these weapons around him. I mean, I think he signed his franchise tag, I'm pretty sure. So he'll go out and play this year for like $34 million, which is nothing to shake a stick at. Nevertheless, if he goes out there and performs, right, I wouldn't be losing too much sleep for getting paid $34 million to play football. Nevertheless, if he goes out there this year, has a great run. I had him when we did our rankings and we were doing our way too early predictions. I had him going all the way to the Super Bowl. If he's able to do that, he's going to try to cash in too. I still don't think he gets Mahomes money. But maybe he does get close, because remember he said
$1 billion. He wants $1 billion. He wants a Super Bowl in Dallas.
He's going to go full Dr. Evil on us. He's going to put the pinky in and call for it. I mean, well, he was saying $40 million. I mean, Pat got 45. So I mean, if he walks away with the $40 million, if he goes and has that season he wants, maybe he does get that $45 million he wanted.
who the fuck is going to be left in Dallas if he gets $45 million a year? Ezekiel's getting paid. Amari is getting paid. DeMarcus Lawrence is getting paid. Jalen Smith is under contract. They're going to who the hell is going to be left? I mean, they're going to be paying their offensive linemen are all paid. So I don't know. I don't see that. I don't have them going to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure Dak signs another long-term deal next year. They might have to franchise tag him again. And Dak is one of those players that he's like a mid-tier quarterback. He's between maybe 12 and 16 or 18. But just a mediocre starting quarterback, a mediocre to good starting quarterback is worth more than a Hall of Fame defensive tackle like Aaron Donald. It really is, because everybody needs that starting quarterback. Everybody needs a guy that they can depend on, that is going to be the leader of their offense. And it's 2020. It's a passing game. You have to have that trigger man.
There's going to be some guys coming up as well.
Trubisky, really, how much is Trubisky going to get paid? What about Chicago Bears? You know what? Do you ever see the what is it? Eddie Murphy, where he's like, "Oh, I'm really thinking," the meme, and it's Eddie Murphy like
that's
Chicago
not Eddie
Bears.
That's not Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, who is it?
I don't know who that is, but that's
Whatever.
Not Eddie Murphy.
It was like
I know what meme you're guys like.
I'm pretty sure it's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that's not Eddie Murphy.
We got a beer on that. Okay. Either way, there's like the Bears were the smart ones. They saved $40 million a year. I mean, Chicago's very smart. They drafted Mitch, the bitch, and they don't have to pay nobody $40 million a year. But regardless, going into the next season, this is the third year for Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold. So they're playing for maybe their extension next year, kind of like Mahomes did last year. So of all those guys, and I know Cleveland Browns fan here, but without being too biased, out of those four, well, Lamar's going to get paid. Let's say out of Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield, which is one of those guys would you feel that is going to get their extension earliest from their team?
I think if Josh Allen goes out and has a pretty good season and takes the Bills back to the playoffs, I mean, they went out and got Diggs for him. I think if he makes a nice run and makes some noise in the playoffs, they'll give him an extension. Why wouldn't they? They haven't had a quarterback since Jim Kelly. They had J.P. Lossman out there running around. They've had some bums there. I think
Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, he sucks.
6 interception Peterman.
Right?
And
he's setting records.
Josh Allen, I mean, Buffalo.
You remember? Hold up, real quick. You remember when they were doing the Gruden QB camp, which I loved. I loved watching those. Man, he loved him some Nathan Peterman, man. Whoo!
He fucking loved
He
everybody,
did. He loved a lot of guys, but man, he loved him some Nathan Peterman. And I think it was basically because I think Nathan Peterman said, did he say listen to like Chicago or something or Christian rock or something? He was.
Oh Christ!
It was literally. Now he
oh God! Now we're talking about Nathan Peterman. Where is he at?
I know, right? This went from Pat Mahomes to Nathan Peterman.
We're two ends of the spectrum
here. Yep.
But I agree with Josh Allen because it's Buffalo, and that is a starving fan base. I mean, Josh Allen, that's a Cleveland, Buffalo type fan base that these fans are starving for anybody that's just half decent. I love Josh Allen in fantasy. He scares me a little bit in real life, but he is a gamer. He's somebody you want to wear his jersey and root for him. He's going to have to evolve to be able to get a big extension, not a Pat Mahomes extension. I'm talking just a normal extension, a $20 million plus starting contract, a Teddy Bridgewater type deal. He's going to have to improve a little bit on his mechanics, on his accuracy, but this guy's a gamer and he's a winner. I mean, they won a lot of games last year. What about Sam Darnold?
Right. I think all those guys are interesting.
It's a huge year for all three of them because, I mean, Josh Allen, Trubisky had a pretty good second year too. In his third year, I mean, they're booing him off the field and then they bring in Big Dick Nick. So it could go south really quick. Buffalo, I think, really loves that guy. They're such a starving fan base. But with Sam Darnold, it could go both ways. Who knows? We all know how we did the draft show about the Jets. That team is rough. I mean, Sam Darnold's going to have to play lights out for them to win 5-6 games. This is a team that could have the number 1 overall pick with a Trevor Lawrence out there. So maybe they move off him or trade. And then Baker Mayfield, nobody's there that drafted Bake. I mean, Brad, with your expert knowledge on the Cleveland Browns, what do you think about Baker in his third year? It could go north or south real quick.
Oh, totally. And if it goes out there and it looks bad, I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for him, but I mean, it's going to be rough for everybody too with the COVID and not being able to work together, especially when you have a new first year head coach again. You know what I mean? And to not be able to get in there and have those meetings. Nevertheless, he seems pretty motivated, pretty focused. He's out there, he's grinding, he's working. He's obviously looking a lot different physically than he did going into last season. Obviously, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, blah, blah, blah. Everybody looks healthy right now. He's got every opportunity. He kind of like when we talked about with Drew Lock, he's got all the weapons in the world around him. It's going to be on him now. He has a revamped line to keep him clean. He got two, not one, but two stud running backs. You got Odell. Hopefully Jarvis is going to be ready to go post his hip issues and everything he was been dealing with as far as injuries. You got a ton of guys out there that can go out and play football at a high level. He's got to be there to elevate his level so everybody around him can play at that level or higher and go out and compete for an AFC North title. If he can do something like that, and there's a lot of people saying 8-8, and I hope that they can get there because they have the talent to do it. And if he can go out here and shock the world and get them to 10, 11 wins and get them into a playoff game, then you're talking about somebody that will be in conversations as far as getting an extension. But the Browns, they got to lock up Miles too. So there's something else that has to be considered of where all their money is going to be going. They still have a decent amount of money to work with, I believe. But once you start doling out contracts for Miles, and if Baker does hit the way a lot of Browns fans hope that he does, and I hope he does. I mean, I want to finally have a franchise quarterback we can believe in. We've only been waiting for 35 fucking years. Let's go ahead and make this happen, guys. And I hope Baker can do that this year. But once you start cracking off them big deals, that's when things start to change and things have to start getting adjusted.
It really is. It can go either way. We've seen what happened to Trubisky and Blake Bortles. We've seen these guys be top 5 picks and then just kind of thrown in the trash before they ever got extended. Trubisky didn't even get extended for his 5th year. He's going to be a free agent next year, and who knows what happens this season. He might not even be able to get a job barely as a backup. So it can go either way. I don't think
if Nathan Peterman got a job, Nathan Peterman's got a backup job. Come on now.
Does he? Where's he?
He's playing in Vegas. He was. I don't know. He might not be there anymore because they draft somebody or bring somebody in. They brought Mariota in, so maybe Peterman might be on the unemployment line.
Oh Christ, XFL.
But he does. I mean, what's his name? Grabbed him up, Chucky. Loved him so much.
So I think it is a huge year for Baker, and he has all the talent in the world around him. They revamped the offensive line, the 2 stud running backs, the tight ends. Even if Njoku gets traded, he has everything in front of him. He doesn't have to be the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback he was in Oklahoma. He just needs to get first downs and let everybody else do it. He just doesn't have to do too much. No. Just do what you're supposed to. Be Kirk Cousins. Be Kirk Cousins, that team makes the playoffs. I fucking guarantee it. But if he tries to do the shit he was doing last year where he's not –
but he was doing it, and he was doing it at a high level. If you go back and watch his highlights as a rookie, some of the passes he was making –
he's amazing.
Great. I mean, what happened?
The fall – I mean, he went off a cliff, and that's why it's such a big year. It's either – what is it? Is it the rookie or the sophomore year? Because if you don't improve and play at least as well as you did your rookie season – the Cleveland Browns are going to have to make a decision on, do we have to look around and maybe get another quarterback? And Sam Darnold, we don't know what we have with that kid. But if I had to guess to someone that would probably get a big extension first, I think the Jets, they have to – as long as he doesn't play terrible this year, the Jets have to throw a ring around him and reel him in and try to keep him unless they have that number 1 pick and can possibly get Trevor Lawrence. Then maybe they deal Sam Darnold. That could be a crazy situation.
Yeah, no, it really could. And Sam Darnold, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, I feel bad for him. Getting that mono last year, that is something hard to deal with. And then having time off and not being able to be where you want to be physically, then you're also not getting the reps you need to. I felt bad for him, and I never really felt like he had an opportunity to get his season going the way he wanted to. So I'm anxious, and again, it's tough for everybody with what we're dealing with, but I'm anxious to see what he can do, even with that trash roster that they have. It is.
I think we both can agree that none of these guys are going to touch Mahomes. They're just not.
No.
Baker's not going to – Josh Allen. Nobody's going to touch Mahomes, and not even Deshaun or Lamar. I just don't see it. Nobody's going to get a $400+ million contract. If the Texans were smart, I would try to give Deshaun a 6-7 year contract. I'm not sure. Maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he wants a shorter contract so he can go ahead and do it again when he's 28, which Mahomes could have. So that's why I thought Kansas City won that deal. But if we really want to go down the line, let's play a little game, I guess. So the deal's 10 years. So I think we both agree somebody's going to break it. Somebody's going to make more a year than Mahomes at some point in that 10-year deal. Who do you think it's going to be? Could it be a Tua or a Joe Burrow that are rookies this season?
Never going to be Joe Burrow, not in Cincinnati. There's no way Cincinnati's going to pay that type of money.
Or maybe
no way.
Do we even go further down the line? Maybe it's not till Trevor Lawrence. So we're talking about Trevor Lawrence gets drafted in the 2021 draft, plays 3 seasons. So we're talking 2024, 2025, he would be up for an extension. Maybe
I got one
that's
for you.
The deal that could finally break Mahomes' deal.
This is crazy. This is like super long shot, but just maybe kind of crazy. What about Daniel Jones? What if Daniel Jones in the next couple seasons ends up looking like a really athletic, cerebral quarterback, like let's just say what he is, a clone of Eli that's just a little bit better. You know what I mean? And they start putting some successful seasons. He's in a huge market, and maybe he can make a little bit less on a deal. Maybe he won't get Pat Mahomes money because, again, he's in New York, and the marketing power and the money that you can get from being in the Big Apple is kind of a bump in a contract all on its own. Nevertheless, maybe he's a guy, and I know I'm really casting a wide net here.
I think it's very smart to say that because Eli Manning, I believe, he's made the most money in NFL history, and we're talking about a tier 2 type quarterback that won 2 Super Bowls kind of on luck. He was always paid in New York. He was always paid. He was always either the highest paid quarterback in around his prime. When the fuck was his prime? I'm not even sure, but he made more money than anybody's because he was always getting big deals, and New York is the team that they're going to be able to pay their quarterback, and they want to. So if he improves on his rookie season, which was pretty damn decent, I just don't know if the wins and losses are going to be there. I don't see MVPs and Super Bowls in the next 3-4 years like Mahomes did because the coaching isn't there. He doesn't have Andy Reid. He's not as talented as Mahomes, and they just don't have the team around him. That Giants defense, I'm not sure if there's a Pro Bowl type player on that defense anywhere. I like some of the offensive pieces. The offensive line is getting better with the first round rookie Andrew Thomas, but I'm not seeing much of a team around him. But I think you make a very valid point. In 4 years down the line, if Daniel Jones does some really nice things, maybe makes a couple of Pro Bowls, he's going to be the next in line to get a big deal, and New York's going to have to pay him.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that's going to get this type of deal.
I think it's Trevor.
10 years is kind of crazy.
I think it's Trevor in about 4 or 5 years. I think he's going to be the king of the castle till it's Trevor. Sunshine's going to come in waving his hair, and he's going to
more money and more years.
$100.
More money and more years.
That's the only person I could think of anybody wanting to sign for that many years. That's a Mike Trout baseball type number that you just don't see in football. And not many people – Pat Mahomes is a very special guy for even wanting to do that. I believe it's going to help the team in the long run. I believe there's a year in there somewhere where it's like a $60 million cap hit. I believe it's in like the 6th year or something that it's really the language in it's really kind of weird, and you really got to dig into it. And Lord knows there's somebody that's dug into it a lot more than me. But at the end of it, I think there's going to be a couple years where Mahomes isn't the highest paid quarterback. So you'll almost be getting a deal at $50 million a year.
Absolutely crazy. I know we're kind of getting close there on time. Is there any other topics or any other things that you wanted to hit on before we wrap this one up?
Well, talking free agency real quick, we were naming a couple of running backs and wide receivers that were going to be free agents in 2021.
I got them in front of me if you want me to read them off for you.
Yeah, just start with the running backs because any fantasy football player out there, it's like, oh my God, these are almost every RB1 is going to be a free agent next year.
And there's something to really talk about because, I mean, you got guys that will buy into the thought process of a year 3 wide receiver. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the year that they get it, right? They have an understanding of what it takes. They have an understanding of what it means to be a pro, and they just kind of grow into that position by year 3, right? I fall more into the, hey, I want to get paid type mindset, right? And I feel like these guys, when they're in a contract year, and they know if they go out and shine, that they are going to get broke off, and they're going to get broke off nice. That's why you see these guys put together seasons like this. And you want to talk about a bumper crop of guys that are coming out at the running back position. Joe Mixon is in a contract year. Alvin Kamara, stud, in a contract year. Dalvin Cook, who's kind of in an interesting spot, said he wasn't going to play. We'll see how it goes. CBA was probably going to force him to. There's a lot that goes into that. But Dalvin Cook's in that mix, like I mentioned. Chris Carson, Damian Williams, Todd Gurley, he's a little older. Tariq Cohen, Matt Breida, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, Tevin Coleman. I mean, a ton of running backs, especially top heavy.
Did you go past? Did you say Leonard Fournette?
Did I skip him? I'm sorry, I did.
Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt.
Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones. Yeah, I missed a few there. I'm sorry. I skipped a whole line of studs. Pardon me. Those are a lot of guys.
I mean, and when we dig into the fantasy, it is crazy to think about these guys leaving situations, because running backs, once they leave the team that they produced on, they're hit or miss. Mm-hmm. Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets and was a shell of himself in Pittsburgh. We've all seen the studs when they leave. They're never quite themselves. When DeMarco Murray left, and LT, I guess, was past his prime when he went to the Jets, but it was just a shell of himself. It's when running backs leave, wide receivers have much more luck with striking on production than running backs. It's just, you never know. Alvin Kamara is great in the New Orleans system. Is he going to be great in the Buffalo Bills system? I don't know. I can't guarantee that. So if these guys leave, does it hurt their production? I think it puts a huge question mark on it. We're talking the who's who RB1s out here. Mixon, bona fide RB1, Alvin Kamara. These guys all came out in the same draft, which was the GOAT draft of 2017. And Dalvin Cook's trying to get paid. Derrick Henry's playing on a franchise tag right now. Leonard Fournette, he's in the hellhole that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Leonard Fournette was the only one of these guys that was a first-round pick. So the Jaguars had an option to keep him for his 5th year, and they opted out. That's how fucking stupid they are. So Leonard Fournette, look for this man to be traded mid-season to a contender, because Jacksonville, I think they're tanking for Trevor. So look for Leonard Fournette to be moving before the season even ends, and then hit the market next year. So the market is going to be flooded, which probably hurts all of these guys' pockets.
Now, for most of these guys, Zach, in my mind, there's about 4 guys that I would give an extension to. Well, 3 guys I would give an extension to, and the third one's Kareem Hunt. And I don't know. Maybe the Browns give him an extension. I figure he's going to want to go cash in at the end of this year. We'll see. Joe Mixon, I would contemplate giving him money, but again, it's Cincinnati. They're not exactly big spenders. We'll see if they sign up on Joe Mixon. I would extend Alvin Kamara. I would extend Dalvin Cook. And like I mentioned, Kareem Hunt. The rest of these guys, Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Damian Williams, Todd Gurley, Tariq Cohen, Matt Breida, Derrick Henry I would extend to. But the rest of those guys, I'm probably letting them all walk.
See, I tell you what, I'm not paying Derrick Henry big money because of his style of play. I would have opted into Leonard Fournette's 5th year. I don't know if I'd pay him huge Ezekiel Elliott money. I don't pay probably anybody Elliott money, but if I would pay anybody, all right, if I just had to pick one, let's just pick one.
I'm taking Alvin Kamara.
It's Alvin Kamara, because he can go out in the slot and he can beat your linebacker or safety in the slot. He can run first downs and go. He can run goal line for you. He can run in between the tackles. He can run outside. He can do it all. He's multi-purpose, kind of like Christian McCaffrey, who got paid. Now these bigger backs, Leonard Fournette, even though he caught 76 balls last year, they really didn't do much with him. He only scored 2 touchdowns the whole entire year. Mixon is the guy he'd be next on my list, because he can do some things in the open field. And I don't think we've seen the best of Mixon yet. Burrow, I think, is going to bring that out of him. Dalvin Cook is nice, but can't stay healthy. He's good in the receiving game also. So I would pay the running backs that are multi-purpose more than the Derrick Henrys and the Leonard Fournettes.
Yeah, if I'm ranking them, I'm going Kamara, then I'm going to go Dalvin Cook, then I'm going to go Kareem Hunt, then Joe Mixon. That's how I would rank those 4 guys. That's just my opinion.
I can't hate on that at all, but we agree on Alvin Kamara, and it's it's because of what he can do in the pass game.
There's also a ton of guys at the wide receiver. We'll run through those real quick, too. These are all guys that are going to be looking for an extension. Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Corey Davis, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp, Kenny Golladay, for crying out loud. Kenny G needs to get paid. That dude's a beast. Marvin Jones, Will Fuller, Dede Westbrook, Sammy Watkins, Kenny Stills. It kind of tails off there, but you got some studs up top. Chris Godwin should be getting a nice lump sum, especially
I want to use one of your sayings that I've heard before. Talk about 2017 being the honey hole of fantasy football players. Kenny Golladay was a late round pick. Chris Godwin was a late round pick. Cooper Kupp was a late round pick. We already talked Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt, and none of these guys were first round picks. Most of them were day 3 guys. All of them are just complete studs. So we're talking about guys that weren't first round picks. So they didn't get that initial money. When you're a second, third, fourth round pick, you get fractions of what the top 15 and top 32 players get in the first round. It's just obvious. So these guys haven't even got close to getting paid yet. Chris Godwin and Kenny Golladay, they're making not even barely $1 million a year probably. And they're guys that just blew up last year. So they're going to want to get paid. If Detroit's smart, they're going to extend Kenny Golladay. If Tampa's smart, they're going to try to see how much they have left after the Tom Brady deal and get Godwin signed. But they're already paying Mike Evans. So I think the Godwin situation could be pretty big. And Cooper Kupp's my favorite Rams receiver. Now, Allen Robinson, this would be his second deal, a little bit older. And talk about a guy that's never had a quarterback. I feel pretty bad for him because who could you imagine him playing with an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes type?
Right. Oh, it'd be nice for him. I mean, he had to go through what he went through down in Jacksonville, and now with what he's got going on in Chicago. Yeah,
he's a solid dude.
He is, and he puts up good numbers. I've just never been a huge Allen Robinson guy. Nothing against him. I don't know.
I think he's never been held back. He's never been on a good offense. He really hasn't. And if we're just talking fantasy, it's hard to get behind a player like that. But if you go to the game tape, this guy, he might not jump off the field with speed, but with precise route running, with go get the ball. The guy uses his body well. He's a top-notch wide receiver. I'm not sure what type of market's going to be out there for him. I don't know if it's going to be in the Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay range. He's a little bit older. Maybe his upside's not as high, but he's probably going to get paid. And if the Bears were smart, they'd definitely keep him in there because other than Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery, they have nobody out there at the wide receiver position. So they'd be smart to sign that man.
Right, and a couple of these other guys here at the bottom, the Dede Westbrooks and Corey Davises of the world. Will Fuller, though, is interesting. Again, if he could stay healthy, he would probably put up really nice numbers alongside Deshaun Watson there in Houston. But he cannot stay healthy. It's physically impossible. He cannot do it. Right when you think you got a guy that you could trust to put in your lineup as a nice starting wide receiver too, he falls apart like apparently he's made out of paper mache and glass.
Yeah, if he could stay healthy, that's like if I could throw the ball like Patrick Mahomes, I can make $500 million.
Yeah, me too. Totally.
But Will Fuller, when this guy's on the field, his numbers are amazing. There's too many times he's not on the field. So the sign him as a free agent, not even talking fantasy wise, like just to sign him as a free agent, other than possibly a mid-level deal, I think you'd be insane.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. So that's some of the wide receivers. That's some of the running backs. Kind of looking for big deals coming up. Pat Mahomes obviously got his big deal done. Any other thoughts before we put a wrap on this one?
It's Pat Money Mahomes week, man. And real quick, let's have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Brad, if you just say you're 24, not married. Well, let's go. No.
I wish. No.
Say you're 24 years old. Just won a Super Bowl, and you just inked a deal for $500 million. My man, what are you doing first?
Oh, my God. I don't know. I know. It's got me choked up just thinking about it. My goodness. I don't know. See, I'm past 24. I'm like 37 years old now. I'm old. So the first thing I started thinking about, and it's so boring, but it's to and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted generational wealth. He wanted to make sure that his kids' didn't have to, want for anything. So I would try to like make sure that I covered all that. But that is so lame. That is such a boring answer. Well, I would be fiscally responsible with my money is what I would do. So you got to buy something sweet, right? You probably lock up a nice house. I want a nice house on some land so I could have anything I wanted in my beck and call, including a pool, a pond to go fishing in, and basically on my own private golf course. I mean, you got a half a bill, bro. You can get what you want to get. So I would get something like that so I could do all the recreational activities that I enjoyed, that I could still play under contract, stipulations, because I know I can't get out there Big Ben, aka Kellen Winslow style, and go ride no motorcycles or anything like that. So I'd want to have some really good stuff around me and my family that I could enjoy on a regular basis when I wasn't putting, because that's the thing too, you got to spend all your time. That's all I would do. I would be in a gym, I'd be working out, I would be doing everything I could possibly do to live up to that giant contract. So what would you do, Zach? I feel like you're going to have more fun with it than I did.
Maybe the first night. The first night I would just, the first night I would go nuts. I would be stupid, like a $50,000 dinner, and leave a $10,000 tip, and just say fuck it for one single night, and just go crazy, pay for everybody at the club, pay for everybody at the bar, take care of everybody, and just not even worry about it for one night. And then I would do exactly what you said. I would go buy 100 acres somewhere, put my own pool in there. I'd put a basketball court. I would have 4-wheeler trails. I would do everything that I like to do when I'm not in front of this mic right now, or playing quarterback if I was Patrick Mahomes. So I would take care of everybody. It would just be nice, kind of like the Forrest Gump, like saying like, oh, well, you don't have to worry about money anymore. All right, well, that's nice. I don't have to worry about money anymore. That's the only thing I worry about right now, all day, every day. But to have that money, I would have one just splurge of it'd probably be a weekend. It
went from a night to a weekend real quick.
It'd be a weekend.
It's just going to be like the first month. That's it.
And then after that, I would go buy a couple sweet-ass sports cars. I would buy some sick-ass 4-wheelers and some land and some property. I'm a homebody. I really am. We're both family guys, and I'm a homebody. I like being at home with my family, and I would just secure everything around us where we almost never had to leave. I would have the best fucking grill in the world. I promise you that, on my deck. Sweet pool.
Well, cool. I'm coming over for barbecue, dude.
Well, I'm still waiting for Pat to come to Canton 20 years early and start handing out $100 bills on Uncensored Football, because I've been loving this guy since Texas Tech. I was his biggest fan back then. Remember?
Yeah, you wanted
I told Andy Reid to get him.
Yeah, number 1 overall in 2012. Real quick, you mentioned that one big splurge and going out and get like a $50,000 meal. Imagine Pat, though, getting a $50,000 meal, get a big old steak, and he just covers it in ketchup. You're wasting it, Pat. You're wasting it.
It's going to have diamond-crusted ketchup.
There you go. Get some of that weird stuff that they put out there. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up there for Pat Money Mahomes securing his bag. We talked free agency. If you got anything you want to chime in, let us know in the comments. Share the videos. We certainly appreciate everybody getting going with us on social media, of course, on Facebook. Check out the YouTube channel. Hit subscribe. Ring the bell. Do all that stuff. Again, we love you following along here on Uncensored Football. For myself, Brad Russell, and, of course, Zach Zander, it's Uncensored Football, and we're out.